Hello, beautiful people. I'm Jennifer, and I'm here to talk to you about how do you know if you have leadership skills. This is a really funny but very interesting question, and I'm glad that you all are asking this. My daughter asked me once, how do I know if I have leadership skills? And so I'm really happy to answer this question for you. When you think about leadership skills, we tend to think about people reporting to us and being in control and being the head of things. But what would happen if we thought differently about control and we asked ourselves whether or not we are actually in control or we are just pretending to be? Can you sit in a place of not knowing and not have the answers to everything? That is a very important leadership skill. I call it sitting in the question. If leadership wasn't really as much about certainty as it was about curiosity. If you are able to make an offer to another human being, you are able to lead. Are you good at making offers? By the end of this video, I want you to be able to recognize real leadership, both in yourself and in others. You'll be able to begin to practice and observe your own leadership in real time without having to have the role or the job description or the title. And I'm going to introduce you to a simple but powerful 4-step process that will help you build trust and improve your leadership performance over time. If you have a need to be certain and a need to be right, in other words, you have a story running in your head that says that I know what's going on here and I'm sure it's right and I can't not be right, then what you're doing is you're putting up a huge barricade to your own learning. And you're not what I refer to as living in the question. Living in the question is being in a sense of wonder. Now, as a leader, you can't always be in a sense of wonder. You need to have a level of certainty at different times, and you need to be decisive at different times. But overall, we tend to think of leadership as always being right and always knowing what's going on. For you as an emerging leader or as an aspiring leader, it's much more effective for you to start thinking about it from a perspective of wonder. And wonder is this beautiful story that says, I don't know what's going on here, but I like it. I'm comfortable with not knowing, and I'm going to ask great questions and I'm going to learn really fast. So think of curiosity and wonder as your friend and your ally when you are looking to develop leadership skills. And when you ask yourself, how do I know if I have leadership skills? You'll know you have leadership skills when you come from a place of wonder and curiosity and you begin to ask very powerful questions from that point. So think about the difference between someone who thinks they know everything and thinks they need to be right and the kind of questions that they ask. So what they do is they'll ask questions that will trip other people up. They'll ask questions that'll drill down on what other people are doing. Sometimes you do need to do that, not to trip people up, but to drill down on the details. But if you're an aspiring or a new leader, you're much better off coming from a place of curiosity and wonder. And what you're doing is you're asking, I'm not sure if I understand what you're saying here. Could you please explain it to me more? Or, I don't have the answer for this. Can you help me with this? Or, what would happen if we did X, Y, Z? And you're putting yourself in this place of wonder that allows you to be able to open up a whole avenue of support from other people to help you learn and step into your leadership capacity. The nice thing about really great leaders who are above you in the hierarchy of the organization is they want you to be an effective leader too. So when they see you coming from this place of learning and accelerated learning, they are going to go out of their way to help you. The majority of them will, not all of them will, but the majority of them will, because they know that that is the most powerful avenue for learning how to be an effective leader. In my book, The Innovation Mindset, I talk about this idea of courageous discomfort. And courageous discomfort is a massive learning accelerator. It's you being able to put yourself in that space between knowing and not knowing, between being right and being curious. And one of the fantastic things about courageous discomfort is that it allows you to be able to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so it talks about a fast learning pace and a slow learning pace. If you are going to be a leader and you have leadership skills or you know that you want to be a leader, courageous discomfort is your ally and your friend, because you really need to be learning fast if you want to be able to be a fantastic leader. So I've done another video on how courageous discomfort drives leadership capacity. That's worth looking at for more detail on this idea. How do you know if you have leadership skills? One of my fast answers to that is if people understand that leadership skills come from self-leadership, that they are leading themselves in the world, that they take responsibility for what happens with them and around them, and they don't think that things happen to them all of the time. They happen more for them. So as you start thinking about my leadership skills and do I have leadership skills and how do I know if I have leadership skills, one of the most fabulous and easy ways to do that is to recognize that you invent your own future to a certain extent, to a large extent. And one of the most fantastic tools for doing that, for positioning yourself in opportunities that you might not otherwise be tapped for creating value for other people that they can recognize it, for building trust with other people in a way that they want to engage with you, is to begin to think about it as I am a performer within an organization delivering value to someone who I designate as my customer. And what I mean by designate as my customer, it means that you're going to make an offer to them, that you go through this language action loop, this circle of influence loop, and you start thinking about who are the people who I want to be able to make valuable offers to. What are some of the things that aren't working that I do not like and I would like to change? And how do I help people change those things? And you help people change those things not by complaining about them. I was working for this fantastic senior executive vice president in a big international bank at one point, and he had a huge sign up on his door which was a no sign, and it had whining in the middle of it. And his deal was, don't come into my office if you're just going to tell me about the things that are wrong. I know there are lots of things out there that are wrong. Come into my office if you are bringing a solution to help us figure out how to solve what is wrong. So the solution to help figure out to solve what is wrong is not a fully baked solution. It's simply you coming in and saying, hey, here's how I think I might be able to solve this. I'd like to talk to you about it and see if there is something that I can offer to do here that would resolve this problem for us. So there's a lot of processes within your organization that you know are janky and not effective or get in the way of you doing really great work. They're some of the areas you can begin to start thinking about your ability to be able to create a different kind of future for yourself by putting your hand up and saying, I'd like to make an offer to fix something that I and a lot of other people around me see as broken, and it's something that I think that we can solve as an organization. Super powerful and effective way to be able to start inventing a different kind of future, because you're putting your hand up, you're allowing yourself to be seen as someone who adds value, and you're doing a lot of thinking and design yourself before you bring that to the table. You're coming up with perspective and solutions and value that you can offer. Great way to start thinking about how do I develop my leadership skills and how do I show up not only for myself as having leadership, but for the people around me. I have found over the years that control is a really dangerous thing to get fully enmeshed in, because what it does is it shuts down unexpected possibilities. The cool thing about unexpected possibilities is that they allow us to be able to be surprised and delighted, to be more effective and more innovative, to be able to be more appreciative of others and what it is that they bring to the table. And when we put a lot of those things together, it actually allows us to be able to be more innovative together. So one of the things that I talk about is the idea of innovate better together, because there's no way that one human being has the full perspective on a problem, an issue, an opportunity, an innovation, a market, a new product that they want to bring to that market. It requires all of us bringing our perspectives together to do it. Now, it requires someone to lead in doing that so that we can coalesce and align around what's showing up. But it's also really important that we begin to create a space for allowing new possibilities to show up. And one of the ways to do that is to recognize that control, if you're trying to control things and you're trying to own resources and you're trying to own people to do things, that once you hear yourself falling into that space, what you're doing, think about it as you're narrowing your perspective, you're narrowing the possibilities that are happening. If you start wondering, do I have leadership skills, or how do I think about myself as a leader? Think about yourself as a leader as someone who's able to open up the aperture of possibilities rather than narrow them down, and who's also be able to lead with a lot of focus once they've understood all of the possibilities and picked one or two of those possibilities they want to pursue. At that point, we need to be narrowing them down, but not from the perspective of total control, but from the perspective of focus, which is so much more valuable. I love to talk about innovation as based on practices, because it is essentially. So I'm going to give you a practice that will allow you to start thinking about yourself differently in terms of your leadership skills. Pick a situation at work that causes tension or friction that you are dissatisfied with. And not that you are going to complain around, something that you're aware of that is broken and not working as well as you'd like it to. Something small, ideally, that's the best place to start. Ask yourself, what common sense assumption am I working under that I haven't done anything about this? I'm overwhelmed, I'm overworked, it's not my job, it's not in my role description. They'll shoot the messenger. There are a lot of different ways that we start thinking about things that we would like to fix at work and we see as broken, but we don't want to move on them for all this list of reasons. Challenge yourself as someone who leads themselves and say, is it going to make my life better and my work life better if I can solve or fix this problem? And what you're doing there is you're asking yourself whether or not you have found something that is discreet enough and small enough that you can begin to make an offer to begin to fix that. And what is stopping you from doing that? Once you've gone through that process and you've decided that you're going to move ahead with it, identify someone, probably your boss in this case, to whom you can make an offer to begin to resolve this problem that you know is broken. Once you go through one of those cycles, the cycle of the circle of influence or the cycle of the action loop, what you'll find is that you get better and better and better at doing it. Don't expect the first one to be fantastic. Go through the process of doing that. And once you go through one, you'll go, I actually do have leadership skills. I am able to lead. I'm able to lead myself, and I'm able to bring in other people to help me do whatever it is I'm looking to do to solve whatever problem I'm solving. Once you get onto that ladder and you start practicing that, what you'll see is it's like building muscle. It's like any other practice. You'll see that you begin to build your capacity and your understanding and your interpretation of your leadership skills. I've done another video on this topic that you might find helpful. It is how to improve your leadership and management skills. That's worth watching if this is the track you're on, and I wish you the absolute best of luck with it, and thank you for listening.